Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hello there. You're very welcome to today's episode, where we're going to look at some of the inner habits that, in my experience, quietly kill your energy without you actually realizing it. And it's funny, sometimes people can be maybe in two modes when it comes to a crisis. Some people get very drained by a crisis. Some people actually come alive, which actually points to something different inside them in terms of how they see crises in particular how they use their mind, usually without realizing it. For me in particular, I've probably always been good at crises, and sometimes actually maybe I've probably even unconsciously created a crisis to get myself into a certain high energy, high proactivity mode. But what I'm talking about today really is something I've discovered that's really important, is that it's more like in calm time. It's the small invisible mental habits that you don't even realize you're running at the back of your mind that actually, I think, kill your energy probably most. And I think the reality is that you don't have to be burnt out to be running on empty. They say at the moment, the research would point that somewhere between 60 to 70% of people are on the edge of burnout. But I think this is one of the reasons why, is that we have so much going on inside our minds that we're not actually aware of. And I think it's part of our challenge in evolving as human beings is to start looking more inside and realizing what's going on and the impact that it has. And I guess that's what drives me to create these episodes every week. So sometimes, and probably more than we realize, the real drain on our energy comes from these tiny, unconscious mental patterns and habits that just sap your energy without you noticing. And I want to explore that a little bit with you today and maybe point out some of those potentially invisible patterns for you, and also give you a couple of tips on how to start breaking them. Now, we all know that our body has habits. We'll eat a certain way, we'll walk a certain way, but your mind has obviously got habits too. Now, some habits are good for you, some habits actually not so good for you. Some habits restore you, some habits drain you. And the thing about your energy is that, and I think we realize this more and more, is that energy isn't just a physical thing. It's deeply mental, it's emotional, and dare I say, it's also spiritual. And the mental, emotional, and spiritual are probably the areas that they're of most interest to me. And high performers, I think, often miss that aspect of it because they think exhaustion comes from doing too much externally. Okay, I've overextended myself externally. But really, it's how they handle the external internally is what actually is the issue. And very often as well, when you're away from the external or the activities, you're still thinking about things. And so often it's thinking too much inside that's the real thief of your energy, or maybe doing too much thinking, or should I say unconscious thinking, as you're not fully aware of it. Now, some examples of some common invisible energy drainers at the back of your mind would be, for example, maybe low level worrying. So you're running endless what if scenarios inside without realizing it. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if I run out of money? What if I don't get this client? What if my boss does this? What if I can't succeed with this situation? It could be endless. And a lot of people have what if habitual patterns going on inside them. I don't necessarily think there's much harm in that, but it does drain your energy. You could also have a stress loop going at the back of your mind. So it could be just quiet but persistent tension about, say, unfinished tasks or something that happened with a person, and you just got this stress or anxiety that's been created by this background stress loop. Another really good one that I think I'm a world-class expert on, I'm better at it now, after years and years of working on myself inside, is beating yourself up, that one. So let's just say you drop the ball on something, you make a mistake. It's inevitable. You're human. No matter how good you are, you're going to drop the ball. You're going to make mistakes. but maybe you're still beating yourself up about that. Again, that will hugely drain your energy. Maybe you have a bit of perfectionism going on inside. Oh, it's not good enough yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm not good enough. Very, very common, especially with high achievers. And then the other one, which is very common, is comparison thinking, where unconsciously you keep measuring yourself against other people, even when you don't want to. So you could be looking at social media, you could be looking at, well, they've got a better car, they've got a better life, they've got a better job, they've got better income, they've got better blah, 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 fill in the blank. And a lot of people do that. And another common one that would be regretful thinking, where you're just ruminating without realizing it, for example, over tiny decisions. Maybe I should have said that differently. Maybe I shouldn't have made that decision. Should I have done something else? And it's just this habit at the back of your mind that just doesn't seem like it's a problem, but actually over time, and when you combine them all together, hugely draining. So each one can seem very small, but when you stack them together, they create very serious and significant mental fatigue. I have, as I'm saying this, I have a memory of a client that I worked with who felt hugely exhausted all the time. But when we got into it, didn't seem to be busy, really, in the traditional sense that you'd expect. And after some conversations, what I kind of realized, and what I suppose I had to help them realize, was that their mind was kind of stuck in these silent, what would you call them, agitating loops at the back of the mind, so that even when they were resting, they were supposed to be resting, rejuvenating, the person was kind of mentally listing tasks, worrying about outcomes, replaying conversations they had, mostly in a business context. So they had this kind of like hidden productivity loop that was going on in their mind all the time. So they really weren't ever present. Not only that, it was affecting their sleep, and they just were not renewing themselves and regenerating. So what he started to do, and I suppose where we got to, was practicing when he was aware of those loops of thought, to let them pass instead of actually engaging with them. Right. Now that, once you see it, actually that can be quite profound. But for this particular person, once that was done and done regularly, their energy improved, their mood came up, which is a very big point of this. And then because their mood came up, their creativity came back, their communication improved, the ability just to enjoy life came back, and they were more productive, weirdly. So in a paradoxical way for this person, by actually stopping thinking about being productive, they became more productive. And that's what I'll often find for myself, and for my clients. So in reality, for them, it wasn't as much about doing less. It was more about thinking less about everything and becoming more aware of what their mind was doing unconsciously. And I don't know anybody who doesn't have some room for growth here or improvement. And I suppose it's interesting to me as well, because most people will, and I used to do this myself, they'll try to force a new habit in. Okay, if I'm thinking negative, stop that. Let's think positive instead. And that can work up to a point, but it has limitations. And most importantly, it's exhausting mentally. And the better approach, actually, I realized, is to become aware of it, to sit with it, accept it, and just let it go, let it pass. I caught myself recently there. I was doing some work, and I realized my laptop had about 30 tabs open in the background. And you realize, oh yeah, that's why the computer's a little bit slow. And I think your mind's the same, that you can have all these different loops open in the background. And even if you're not using them, they are draining the power of the computer, which is your mind. Now, you don't need to shut down your mind completely. Like, all you got to do is just close those unnecessary tabs running that are open on your laptop, on your mind. And I want to give you some questions to consider, and also a tip. But before I do that, I just want to flag to you that if you're enjoying these kind of insights and want to go even deeper, I would highly suggest that you check out my new audio club, because each month I'm giving a powerful, longer form than this. So each one is at least 40 minutes. I think the second one we just did, released there recently, was 63 minutes. And it's a private audio to you, designed to sharpen your mind, go deeper than we're doing on the podcast, and boost your clarity and upgrade basically your inner world. My goal is to help people move up the learning curve of the inner world. And ideally, think of it as maybe a monthly reset for your best thinking, and just to help you, reset every month and learn. So if any of that sounds of interest, you can find out more at the link in the show notes. And if you can make it, I'd love to have you on board because I guarantee you won't be disappointed. One of the audios alone is worth the fee for the whole 12 months. So let's get to you. What about you, as I would say? What could be the dominant background habit in your mind right now? You definitely probably have one. So it could be worry about something. Maybe it's the regret that I spoke about. Maybe it's perfectionism. Maybe there's a stress. And the trick of thought's a great tool, but it also tricks us into thinking, well, I'm doing that, Shane. I'm worrying about that because that's reality. And I'm going to say, okay, the situation is what it is, but people will handle that in different ways mentally. So a reflection question to consider to help is, where do you feel tiny energy leaks happening during your day? Where maybe if you stopped and thought about it, where is there concern or where is there something that maybe is agitating you slightly? And what would happen if you didn't try to fix the thought or make it positive, but you just LIP'd it, which to me is let it pass. Let it pass, LIP'd it. So for the next day, maybe a couple of days, here's a little challenge for you. So when you notice that your mind is stewing or spinning on something, even if it's very small, just pause, become aware of it, smile at it, say, oh, I'm catching myself doing something there, but let it pass, LIP it. So let it pass without trying to fix it, without trying to analyze it, without trying to say, well, why am I doing this? Or getting annoyed at yourself, which is a common mistake, by the way. And then just use that practice just to reconnect to what's happening right now in this moment. So you can feel it, but again, you're smiling at it, letting it pass, LIP it. If you do that once today, and then you do it once tomorrow, and then maybe you do it once after, it's very, very powerful in terms of the compound interest effect, in terms of how you feel and the impact on your state. Because the reality is that it's not about winning a mental battle. I used to think it was, but it's not about winning a battle with yourself inside. It's about leaving the fight with your mind altogether. Because you don't lose your energy in a day. You really leak it, one unnoticed, unconscious thought at a time. Catch the leaks, catch those energy leaks inside. You'll be absolutely amazed at the energy that can come rushing back to you. That's it for this week. Ciao for now.